Welcome to the Loaded Cannon. Brighton 1, Arsenal 1. Before we get into the football, New Year's resolution time. If you saw my last video, I mentioned that every video that I do in 2025, I'm going to try and dedicate to a victim of the terrorist Israeli regime. And this week, I'm going to have to choose the grandfather-granddaughter duo, Reem and Khaled Nabhan, whose heartbreaking story is forever etched into the minds of the people that saw it and heard this loving grandfather say about his beautiful granddaughter that she is the soul of my soul. So this video is dedicated to those two, and I hope they're reunited in heaven. Now let's talk about Arsenal. For me, massive opportunity missed today. Chelsea drew earlier, which made it even more annoying because I really wanted to pull away from them. And these are the games that you're going to have to win. These are the sort of games that if there's a deficit, if you're the challengers, you have to just grind out a victory to keep on putting the pressure on the team that's leading the pack. And without that, I feel like we're going to make it easy for Liverpool. We did a really good job at Brentford and managed to get the result out of the bag there. But today, it was just one step too far. Maybe it's an accumulation of away games that's sort of affecting our performance today. And also, you look at the starting lineup as well, and serious questions have got to be asked. No Erdegaard, no Martinelli, when Saka's already out and Martinelli's just hitting a good run of form. I have heard rumours about a bug in the camp. Look, if it is something about fitness or a risk of injury or a bug, then fine. You cannot give the manager stick. He's got to make that call. If it's tactical, on the other hand, I think he's got it totally wrong. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below, or if there's been any post-match interviews or anything like that where he might have clarified that or been asked a question that I'm not aware of. If it is just tactical, I think he got it wrong, and I think it costed us today. Another decision that I think he got wrong today was taking Nwaneri off at half-time. And let me just talk about Ethan Nwaneri for a second. This kid is special. I hope you're watching, Ethan Nwaneri. You are special, and I want to see you in that red of Arsenal for the rest of your career. You're so pleasing on the eye. Just watching you is a treat in itself. And honestly, sometimes I look at him and I just think to myself, if he wanted to, we could take on all 10 of the opposition. He's just that capable. I'd love him to sort of just spend his entire career at Arsenal, because for me, he's the future of this team and someone that I think is just going to be just one of the Premier League's best if he carries on the way he is already at 17. When that through ball came through from Marino today, Declan Rice, if you look at it, probably had a better angle to come onto the ball. Nwaneri almost had to sort of halt his momentum to get the ball in his path, whilst Declan Rice would have been coming onto the ball. But you just know Nwaneri is that sort of player that is going to take responsibility. And I knew he only had one thing in mind anyway, and that was to get a shot off on goal and try and score for the team. But I want to give credit to Gabriel Jesus as well, because one of my complaints with Gabriel Jesus is that he doesn't spend enough time in that spot where a striker should be. And that's like, between the goalposts, moments like this in the 6-yard box. Because he was there, the Brighton defender had too much to think about in that moment where he actually undercommitted to closing down Nwaneri and let him get the shot off. If Jesus isn't there, he doesn't have to worry about a ball being played across the face of goal and there being a tap-in for a striker. It's only because of Jesus' presence that I feel like he delayed his approach to Nwaneri, which opened up all the space. It just really goes to show the importance of a striker doing a striker's job. Even in that moment, many people would look at that goal and not attribute any credit to Gabriel Jesus, but the way he took a spot of that defender's concentration and awareness away is for me what opened up the space for Nwaneri. So that's absolutely brilliant. If Nwaneri had missed, Declan Rice had made a brilliant run. He had continued his run and was just square of him, and Nwaneri would have got a lot of criticism, I reckon, for not passing it. But look, I think once you spend so much time on a football pitch trying to get in those positions to have a shot off on goal. So once you get there, you're better off just shooting. And I think he made the right decision, and thankfully it went in, even though I think the keeper would be a bit disappointed about that. Now, away from that, one thing we have to talk about today is the penalty, because I've sort of gone, I've gone to and fro with this one. During the actual game, when I saw it, I didn't spot the contact in real time. So when I was thinking, is this a penalty or not? I was looking for contact. And yeah, I saw Saliba made contact with João Pedro's head. So at the time, I thought, do you know what? Fair dues, it's a penalty. But I think I've changed my mind the more I've watched it, because when you look, and look, people often use the inconsistency argument, and people often use that, oh, it's never happened to anyone else argument. Both of those are flawed arguments, right? Just because they've made a wrong decision in a game earlier doesn't mean they shouldn't make the right decision, even if it's at the expense of Arsenal. I'm not saying it was the right decision. I'm just saying, even when it's inconsistent, you still should try and call the decision correctly. And also, people talk about, oh, like the Declan Rice sending off and the Martinelli 2 yellows in the same sort of passage of play. These things only ever happen to Arsenal. This is another example of it. And yes, whilst that is frustrating, it doesn't mean that for that reason it shouldn't be given. But I have to point to Kulusevski and Anthony Gordon in Tottenham Newcastle on the same day. Kulusevski's shoulder goes right into Anthony Gordon's face. And this was him actually challenging Gordon, rather than what Saliba and João Pedro did, which seemed to be just more of a clash of heads. This wasn't Saliba trying to tackle him. This was just him sort of trying to get ahead on the ball. And I get some people will turn around and say, look, just because it was Saliba's head onto João Pedro's head doesn't make it any less of a foul than if it was Saliba's foot onto João Pedro's foot. If it was that, it seems like everyone would just accept that, yes, it's a foul. But when you're doing it with your foot, there's a difference between an attempted tackle or just sort of a coming together. And for me, this was just a coming together. It was a clash of heads. I don't think there was really a foul in it. João Pedro's also motioned to get his head. And then you can also make the argument that, yes, João Pedro gets his head on the ball, but before the contact between the two players, that ball also touches Saliba's head. So for me, I think on balance, I'm saying that I don't think that was a penalty. I think it's a really, really harsh penalty. I can see why it has been given, but I'm very, very frustrated. I have to admit, though, I probably wouldn't have analysed it as closely as I have if we had received that penalty. I would have been saying, don't care, I'll take it. So clearly that's what Brighton are going to say, and it's only Arsenal fans that are going to be looking at that in that level of detail. It'll be interesting to see kind of what the consensus is among referees or pundits or whatever about that one. But I think it was very, very harsh. But I have to say, Saliba was very sloppy in that passage of play. He had an opportunity before where I feel like he was always half a second away from having his correct body shape. Usually he's so polished and refined in his game, but the moments before that, and also him just being slightly delayed in that forward movement of his head as well. I think he could have been better in that. Anyway, it is what it is. Massive, massive opportunity dropped for Arsenal. And now look, Liverpool, 8 points ahead. And if they win tomorrow, and they're playing relegation candidates, for God's sake. The only thing that I hope for in that game, sometimes when a team is fighting for survival, they can find it. There will be a point of the season where they'll go on a run. Often it's like towards the end of the season, but they'll find more. And because of the fear of getting relegated, hopefully Man United will be in that survival mode, and it will bring more out of them. And also the other thing is that for Man United, if they beat Liverpool at Anfield, that will be the highlight of their season. That will be incredible for their fans. They'll be celebrating it for years to come. I mean, that's their ambition right now. I mean, what else are they going to do? So maybe those two things combined will get them a miraculous draw at Anfield, but I can't see it happening. 11 points for me is too much. I actually feel like Arsenal have got a better chance of winning the Champions League than the Premier League this season. Let me know if you agree with me in the comments below. Also, let me know what your thoughts were on Odegaard and Martinelli not starting the game, and on Nwaneri being subbed off at half-time. Smash a like on this video and drop a Palestine flag in the comments below. I'll try and respond and show some love to all of the comments. I'll see you next time. Up the Arsenal.